Established in January 1974, Kerry Cooperative Creameries Limited, or Kerry Co-op, celebrates a special anniversary, 50 years. This podcast series has been created by Mary Lavery Carrig, based on the first board photographed together in January 1974. This is Mary, and you are welcome to A Chat with Mary, Voices from Kerry Co-op's story. In this episode, episode 3, we hear from Tom O'Sullivan, Shrone, Rathmore. Tom has clear memories of his own time involved in the early days of Kerry Co-op.
So I am Tom O'Sullivan, yes, and I suppose at the time, times wasn't great and the price of milk wasn't great, and the dairy disposal, which was a state board, a lot of people didn't like it anyway, and they decided that we should have a co-op of our own and process the milk and all that. And of course we were also supplying fried Cadbury's in Rathmore, and we weren't pleased either with some of what we were getting there. So that was some of the things that got us on the road and trying to get this going. And of course when we did get going, then there was a huge job in going around to the farmers, because some of them, it was their grandfathers' names were in the account. So we had to get to talk to them and change them and to get them to subscribe into the shares and in Kerry. So it took all that, like. But that took a lot of time, but sometimes it took a lot of bitterness, because some people wanted to go to Cork and we were mad to go to Kerry, maybe foolishly, and we didn't know which, but it worked out well anyway. We were delighted. And that was the story of it that time anyway. Well, we were within a few miles of the Cork border, and some of the old co-ops there, or not so old, they were paying a better price really than the dairy disposal at the time. So there was an awful lot of people saying that's where we should go. We should either go to Golden Vale, principally the thinking was that, up around Castle Island and places, and then the one thinking down here in South Kerry was to go to Ballyclaw. So it was a difficult fight, but we got there anyway. There was always a lot of bitterness here between Kerry and Cork, even it was only football. So we were anxious to go to Kerry anyway. And some of the people we knew in that was forming the co-op in Kerry at the time and things, some of them we knew, and they talked to us and they explained to us. The longer it went, the better it got. The first of it was the hardest. But once we got on the road and got going, we had no regrets, I can tell you. We were delighted. And there were people that didn't at the time join Kerry and went, and they tried to come back to Kerry. So we went through all that. Yeah, I suppose really I got so involved as I trying to get shares, trying to collect shares, and got to know a lot of people that were through that and all that, like, you know. They agreed to pay us, people that wouldn't have money, sir, and the most of them hadn't, I'd say, at the time, but they would agree to have so much deducted from their milk check every year or every month. I don't know which can't remember now which way it was. Every year anyway, that's the way it was done. Very difficult to get the money, and Dennis Rosnin, I suppose he knew a good few as well at the time, even though he was young, and Eddie Hayes, and the banks were tried, but the banks didn't come up, but one bank did, ACC, Farmers Bank at the time. 1.15 million I think they came up with. I wanted to get it started, like, to get it going. That's right. And that was a lot of money that time. Well, Listowel was far away, whereas Ballyclaw and Fry Cadbury's and all those were local. So that's why they didn't, they thought Listowel was too far away, you know. Oh, they did, and they thought there was even rumours times that Cadbury's would close. And we had a problem with Cadbury's too. We made them pay more than they were paying the dairy disposal. There was a court case in Dublin. We were there too. And we won. Yeah. We won an increase in the price from Cadbury. They had to pay more. But, it was also said in the takeover and all that when going on, that Cadbury should be guaranteed a certain supply. I think 22 million gallons or something at the time, that there should be, for employment and all that they'd have to get the milk. We'll say the dairy disposal will give you. And that was all right. We felt our blackguarding it a bit in when they had that guarantee. But it was taken to Dublin to the High Court. And we won. Well, we thought it good looking. The PLC were going well too. Yeah, we thought that too. Yeah. Oh yeah, once we got going at all, it seemed it was all getting better. That's the way it was. Getting better. Yeah. Well, it looks positive to me anyway, but I suppose I wouldn't be saying anything else, would I? And of course there was another thing too. The time Kerry started, we were after the politicians, and I remember being in Tralee one night and meeting Garrett Fitzgerald and a whole crowd of them, and putting pressure on to see whether we get the money. Of course, Frank Walding would be there as well, and he was with the other politicians, the Fianna Fáil side more or less, and that was the way it was. Tried them all anyway. Yeah. Farming was very tough in those days, and to give you one example, if you were going to the fair or selling cattle, you had to walk from here to Knocknagree. Knocknagree was supposed to be a very good fair. And you would go in the morning at 4 o'clock, and you would have, if you were after 4, you would be regarded as being a bit late. So you would went up to walk up to Knocknagree, sell the cattle, or else if you didn't sell them, sometimes they were brought home and had to walk them home as well. I remember going to, it was a big thing to go to board meetings that time, and they were held that time in Listowel. That's where with Dennis Rostin and Hugh Friel and all the Frank Wall and all those people at the time. We're meeting them at the time in the factory. That's where we were meeting. Yeah. Well, I suppose the Dairy Disposal Board had their own trucks at the time, which were small trucks really. So and Kerry gradually started to get bigger trucks, and all that evolved. Yeah. And as well as that, he bought Killarney dairies as well. And we were supplied, some of us supplied Killarney for the winter, in the winter time, when there'd be scarce milk there. But then Killarney, later on, then Killarney was sold. I think it was a pity, but it happened anyway. I was just down in the yard and tidying up after the milking, and maybe it was 11 o'clock. And the truck arrived, the Kerry Co-op. But I noticed it was a different truck, really. It was a different colour. The engine was a different colour. So I just threw an eye up and I said, who's driving this today? That would be what we'd often think. So I didn't do any more. And the next thing was, anyway, someone came out of the cab, and I didn't know it at the time. It was a girl. And she came down the yard and she put her hands around me and gave me a hug. I couldn't believe it. It was the first time ever. And she said, "I'm from Poland," she said. And she said, she gave me her name, but I can't remember that. But she also gave me the impression that she had driven in a lot of countries. And she went through all that, and she was gone in a shot. I saw her going into the cab. She went up the steps like it would be flying. Couldn't believe it, like. And before she left, she made sure she had the tank washing and all. Everything was done. I couldn't believe it. Yeah. Around that time we might have 12 cows, We're about 150 now. So that's the difference. It's constantly getting bigger. I don't know where did it end. It was tough enough. Those are long, like. And you have to be there a lot of the time anyway, most of the time. But I have a son as well now at it, so I'm more or less I'm only part-time. But I still do a share around, yeah, that's right. And my wife too, yeah. She thinks it wouldn't be done right if she didn't go out as well. Grace comes out every morning, and sometimes she might be out before me. The son is back. He lives over the road a couple of 100 yards, and he'd be back, and she might be even here before him. We had 6 kids, and they went to the local school, and they went to the secondary schools in Rathmore, In the local schools, like, there'd be always around 50 there now, 60 to the local school, and that's gone way down, like. And of course, families are getting a bit smaller too, like the census came out with there one night, you know. We were very lucky with Kerry and the people and the quality of the people we had, starting with Dennis Brosnan himself, like. And Hugh Friel and Dennis Cregan, they were very good, like. And they never worked. They weren't watching the hours or the clock. They worked every time. They were prepared to do it anything, at any time. There was no such thing as, I say, bank holidays or church holidays or whatever holiday. If the work was to be done or if they had something to do, they'd be there. That's where they worked that time. There was no such thing as 40-hour week or anything like that. That's the way they worked. I was vice chairman for a while. And I think I was in there for 10 or 11 years altogether. That was the one great thing about it for me, is that I had a wife that was prepared to keep the thing at home going when I was missing. And the lads were coming on as well, you know. They were getting stronger and giving a help and all that. As I say, Tom got playing with Kerry for 10 or 11 years, I think. And the rest of them all played a bit of football as well locally, and they were very involved locally, like, and that's a good thing, I think. Well, we had so much in our plate, I suppose, trying to raise the money and do everything, is that we didn't think about electing people or going around canvassing for votes at that early stage, like. Then we had to go to, like, politics then, the same thing. Go to the shareholders, yeah, but they had to be shareholders to vote, you know. They wouldn't just say, well, some people weren't shareholders. Not everyone took shares, but most people did. But I'd be nearly went to Kerry anyway. I'd be nearly proud of it. I feel proud because Kerry has been such a success. And we put a lot of work into it to start it and all that, and we were lucky enough that it turned out as good as it did.
I wish to say a sincere thank you to Tom O'Sullivan for sharing his memories. Thank you too to Charlie Nelligan for concertina music. You have been listening to a podcast series, episode 3, from A Chat with Mary, Voices from Kerry Co-op's Story. This is Mary Lavery Carrig, and thank you for listening.